Hi friends, happy Halloween week. I hope everybody is getting ready to have a very safe and wonderful Halloween this coming weekend. And let's make some spooky art. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a vignette. So a vignette is basically where your colors fade from light to dark, and the dark is going to be in the corners of your paper and the light will be in the center. So we're going to make a cool vignette using whatever colors you would like and adding silhouettes to that. So silhouettes is basically a fancy word for shadows. So whatever you decide to draw in the center of your vignette is going to be blacked out. So do you see how my bats are all colored in black? You don't see their eyes or their legs or anything like that. They're just all black. Same thing if you decide to draw a haunted house, if you decide to draw a pumpkin, whatever you decide to draw inside your vignette is just going to be a silhouette, so it's going to be black. Awesome, so let's get started. Alrighty, so let's make some vignettes. So again, a vignette is where you fade from light to dark, and it looks almost like it's like a shadow type effect. So it should be darker around the edges and lighter towards the center, no matter what colors you're using. So for this project, what you're going to need is you're going to need a plain piece of paper. You're going to need some sort of circle cut out. So I would suggest just cutting out a circle from another sheet of paper or maybe a piece of construction paper if you have it, just because it's a little sturdier. Because you're gonna need a circle to go in the center so that you don't accidentally get a bunch of color in your circle in the center. And you're going to need some chalk. That's what we used. So you can use sidewalk chalk for this, or if you don't have chalk at home, you can even use crayons for this project or paint. And just use the same concept of keeping some sort of circle in the center so that you can avoid adding color to the center and blending the colors together from light to dark. So use the same concept. So for the chalk, what we are going to do is we're going to start with a lighter color. So since I use cool colors for this one, I'm going to use warm colors for my next one. So I'm going to place the circle here in the middle. I'm going to hold it down with my hands, and then I'll take my chalk. I'm going to use the long side of my chalk, not the short side. If I hold it like a crayon and use the short side, it's going to take me forever, and I'm going to kind of waste a bunch of chalk when I just need the long side. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go around my circle. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It also doesn't have to be a whole lot, because a little bit of chalk actually goes a long way. These are chalk pastels that I'm using. But like I said, sidewalk chalk will work, crayons will work, paint will work the same way. So I'm gonna start right here by making a light kind of circle around my circle. Then I'm gonna get a new color that's slightly darker. I'll get this like pinky color, and I'm going to add that into the orange a little bit. You do not have to use the same colors as me, just going from lighter and getting darker as you go out. But do you see how I'm adding a little bit into that orange? This is gonna help when I start blending to make it look a little bit more seamless and make blending a little bit easier and make it look less like my colors are all separate. They should look like they're almost bleeding into one another. Okay, now I'm gonna go a little darker, maybe this red, yeah, red. I'll put a little bit of red, and then I'll put some purple. Okay, it helps when you're doing this to think about the colors on the color wheel. Right? So we want colors that are going to, we know colors will blend better together if they're closer to each other on the color wheel. So we're going to want to pick colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. You're not going to want to pick colors that are completely opposite from each other and try to put them next to each other on your paper and expect them to blend nicely. For instance, if you blend together green and red, you guys learned this last year, you would get brown. If you blend together purple and yellow, you'll get brown. If you blend together orange and blue, you'll get brown. So you have to be careful with the colors that you're choosing to put next to each other, because they should be colors that are rather close to each other on our color wheel. And I'll have a color wheel on the PDF document as well that you can reference as you guys are starting this, so you can be reminded of the colors that are next to each other. So when you're blending, your fingers are gonna get really messy. What I would suggest doing is rubbing them together, or if you're using paint, make sure you clean off your brush. If you're using crayons, you just have to change crayons. So you're gonna hold down the center and you're going to rub your lightest color first. So this is the most important part when you're blending this. No matter what medium you're using, you have to start with your lightest color, and then you're going to slowly work your way into your medium colors. But do you see, because I started with my lightest one, I don't have to worry about that purple getting into my yellow, because I want my orange to get into my pink, and my pink to get into my red, and my red to get into my purple, because that's gonna help me blend this to where it looks like it's more seamless and it's kind of fading into these different colors. Because a vignette is supposed to look like it slowly fades from light to dark. All right, you see how nicely that's blending? It's looking so beautiful. Wonderful. Okay, so now I can go ahead and lift this up. And I did get a little bit of chalk in there, but that's all right. You can either leave this white by using an eraser, any type of eraser, and erasing any chalk that you might have gotten in the center, or you can use a very light color such as yellow, and you can add yellow, or depending on what you use, maybe a green or a light blue or a light purple, whatever colors you use. Make sure you rub your hands together if you're using chalk, because you don't want to get any of that purple onto your yellow. And then you're going to rub that out into your vignette. Okay, see how it still goes very nice and seamless. So now that you have your vignette, you can start adding your silhouettes. So a silhouette is basically a drawing of anything that is blacked out. So it should look almost like a shadow. So do you see how my bats are all colored in black? So whatever you decide to put into your vignette, you're just gonna make sure that you color it in all the way black. I would suggest using colored pencil to color, because colored pencil will go over the chalk very nicely, and so will crayon. Whereas if you put black chalk on top of the regular chalk, you risk it smudging. And markers can sometimes get ruined with the chalk. So if chalk gets on markers, it kind of ruins the pigmentation. So I would suggest using colored pencils or crayons for that. So on the PDF, I have a how to draw a bat step-by-step that I created for my brick and mortar kiddos as well. So if you would like to draw a bat, that's what I'm gonna draw on mine. But again, you can draw a spooky house, you could draw a pumpkin, you could draw whatever you would like to there. I'm just going to draw a bat. So this first step on how to draw a bat is to draw like an M. So I'm going to draw a little sideways here. I'm going to draw an M like that. Then my next step is I'm going to curve up on either side. So I'm going to curve up, then I'm going to curve down on both those sides. So curve down and out, and then now I'm going to make some curved lines in. You see that as 1, 2, 3. I make 1, 2, 3 curves, and by the third curve I should end up in the middle of my M. Okay, so I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 curves. You see how I had to make that last curve big because I wasn't close to the middle of my M? So I just made that last curve big. You could do the same thing. Okay, it's fixing it as we go. Now we're gonna do the opposite side. I would suggest starting from up here. You're gonna go 1, 2, 3 curves. Perfect. So now I have a bat. Now all I need to do is I need to take my crayon, my colored pencil, and color it in to make it a silhouette. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a bat right here, and then maybe like a spooky tree and maybe a few other tiny little bats over there. But again, it's up to you what you decide to do with your vignette and your spooky drawing. I cannot wait to see these. Please, please, please send me a message with your artwork on Dojo, or send me a message with a picture of your artwork on Schoology. You could just send me a private message. You don't have to, because we don't post assignments. So just send me a message with your photos, and that way I get to see your awesome artwork. Have a wonderful week and happy Halloween.